whenever I've deployed Linux, 9 times out of 10 it's been Ubuntu, and I think every time Canonical makes a rather big decision, there's a lot of people who worry, and rightfully so, because there's a lot of competition out there now. But I think Canonical's shown that it has made the right decision every step of the way, or the right decision for it. I'm quite looking forward to it.
Remember the thing with Yahoo at some stage? Sometimes they actually make a decision and they change the change.
But I mean that really is quite an encouraging sign. That the fact that we're talking about these decisions and people in Canonical and any firm are sitting talking about big decisions to make just shows the popularity of Linux itself.
They don't talk about it openly enough. I suppose that's a separate topic. Is the fact they use meritocracy to make certain very important decisions, and even when they talk about discussing big important issues, things like recently they talked about adding Qt-based programs to the I think to maybe 11.10, but one of the future versions they might as well include a media player like Amarok or have K3B, the distro, because they're going to be accepting and working towards making Qt-based applications part of the distribution. But this is the type of thing which they announce in blogs like, Mark Shuttleworth and Jonah Bacon. They don't actually consult the community beforehand. It isn't really the result of a community working together. It's more of a company announcing it and then letting people talk about it. And this has been discussed as a bit of an issue for quite a while. They kind of surprise you with some news. They don't actually ask people about it.
But I mean, do they have to? Because I mean, at the end of the day, we have so many options and so many distributions within Linux. There's no lock-in, as it were, such as there is with the Windows platform, and users have nowhere else to go apart from a different version of or a different branding of Windows. We've certainly got a lot of choice, and I remember when Ubuntu One was first announced and released and the outcry from some people, some quarters. I'll admit nobody here, I don't believe, on this show actually said anything about it. But the outcry was like as if Canonical had just announced that they were signing up with Microsoft and releasing a joint Windows Linux distribution. And now Ubuntu One is a fantastic service. I used it from the early beta, and at that time I was using Ubuntu on one of my desktops, and I thought it was absolutely fantastic. And now I understand that it is free, but that you have to pay for extra space or something like that. I think I haven't looked into.
Yeah, it is. It's like sort of like Dropbox, but it only works on Ubuntu.
It's brilliant. It's fantastic.
What I understand from it is the cost per gig is very expensive compared to Ubuntu for what you're getting free, compared to Dropbox. Same idea, but it only works. It only works on Ubuntu. So I've seen people saying that I collaborate with using Dropbox with 8 or 9 different people in my office, and some of them are Windows users, some are Mac users, some are Linux users. And Dropbox works.
It's no longer just Linux, to be honest.
No, it's Windows as well.
Windows as well. I'm not sure about Mac, but they do actually. That's the intention, is to make it more universal.
I mean, if I could just say, all this fuss was made about Ubuntu One, how dare Canonical release this service and charge people for it. But at the end of the day, Canonical didn't stop you from using Dropbox, didn't prevent you or hamper you. You could still use it as well as or instead of. And it was a service offered by Canonical as a way to create revenue. And I mean, my take on that was good on them. If they can make a healthy return from Ubuntu and the services it offers, then great. That's only going to benefit the end user in that they'll have more money to invest in other products. And I know the allegations of not giving back and all that sort of stuff, but as an end user, I don't think 99% of end users are really bothered. They just want a desktop environment which works for them and gives them the services that they require.
Yeah, I think the plan is a bit different. 2 things. First of all, the situation isn't about Canonical making money. The question is how they make money. So one thing they could do, and to a certain extent they do, is they have this thing called Landscape, which is it's kind of an administration tool, I think, for servers running Ubuntu. And as far as I know, that's proprietary. And I'm not even going to talk about the price. I mean, I suppose it's not really a question. It is expensive, but that's not the point. I think the point is they develop something proprietary. I'm pretty sure that's the case. The second thing I have to to try and recall what it was. I'll just you carry on. I'll just try.
Yeah, I mean the point was that I had no issue over Ubuntu at all, and I actually would have encouraged it because at the end of the day you were not tied into using Ubuntu 1, and Dropbox was just available for you as it is for anybody else in the other distribution. So I think sometimes people are certainly guilty of sort of a knee-jerk reaction to something, and they don't let it settle, don't let the announcement or don't let the feature give it a chance before sort of announcing fear and sort of panic. Because Ubuntu One, like I say, regardless if you put the price to one side, and I don't know how much it is if you're paying for the paid services, but a fantastic little feature for somebody like myself.
The second point I was just going to make I'll just make it very fast, is a lot of the complaints come to say something like, well, Ubuntu kind of grabbed a lot of the user base from companies like Mandriva or Fedora, all kinds of distros, which used to make it a bit more evenly distributed. What happens then, Canonical is in a position where they could actually offer all sorts of services to people, but they tend to take away from other companies which might offer freer software and more services for no cost or under some better kind of conditions, whatever. So one of the criticisms Mandriva used to draw is the fact that they had all these sorts of like additions or types of packages, and sometimes they would charge you extra for proprietary codecs. So people would say something like, if people use Mandriva, well, they'll be tempted to use proprietary codecs instead of using something that's more free. And that was a bit of an issue for some people.
I mean, at the end of the day, Canonical is doing what any other company would want to do, and that would obviously be number one and be top dog, as it were. I sometimes think certainly I forget on many occasions. It's a very different situation with Linux because, like I just said 5 minutes ago, with Windows, you have Windows or you have a different version or packaging of Windows, depending on the package you go for. With Microsoft, whether it's Home, Office, or whatever, I can't remember the different versions of Windows. But with Linux, it's very different, and users are savvy enough. They've taken the step to install Linux, so they obviously know a little bit more about their computing than they would if they were purely just a Windows user and using it like a phrase I use here very often, a toaster. So there's no sort of lock-in, and people are very free to move around. And if they're not happy with something, say, Canonical offered or whatever, then they're quite happy to move around, and they do. So I think it's pretty much a storm in a teacup when sometimes we see these things, negative things about services that are offered. That's just my personal take on it. And
No, I was going to say sudo apt-get marmalade and unmount. Sorry, just toaster thing, right? Okay. No, the thing is, I think, to be fair to Canonical, one thing that what they're trying to do is make money, which is what any company does. But they're trying to do it in a kind of more diversified way. It's like getting different streams from different places, and giving people a way to give back to Canonical. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, even although you might get better value with Dropbox, but it's doing it with Ubuntu or Ubuntu One. At least it gives you a way to say, well, I got this distribution for free. I'm going to chuck them a few bucks back and help support them. Or I'm going to buy. I want to buy this new album. I could get it from iTunes, or I could get it from Ubuntu One. They've both got it. I'll just get it from Ubuntu One and give them a few bucks back. So what they're trying to do, in fairness, is they're doing it in such a way, trying to do it in such a way that it's diversified, and that it keeps the install free. They're never going to get to the stage where you need to pay to download a disk, or where you need to pay for a registration key, a serial number to use Ubuntu, or say they're never going to say, or you can only install it on 5 computers, and then after that you need to pay, that type of thing. So they're diversifying enough so that Ubuntu is never going to be that. And from what I'm aware, most of the time, the buttons on the other side was maybe an exception, but most of the time, the changes that Canonical make for the default choices are easily changeable. So I mean, like if they include, say, Banshee, you don't like Banshee, well, that's fine. You can remove Banshee. You can put Rhythmbox back on. It's still in the repos.
And also, I mean, there's something to be said, as you mentioned the button issue with switching around the buttons. There's something to be said